Well, hello, my peeps. We're going to look at Matthew chapter 24 today, and there's a lot of it, so let's get to it. Matthew chapter 24, I'm going to read out of my Schofield Bible. I got a Bullinger Bible here. I like it a lot. Incidentally, if if you want to change words in the King James Bible, anytime I've ever heard a preacher preaching a sermon and he messes with the King James Bible with the Greek text or the original Greek or the Greek this or the Greek that, it's always in, it's always in the margin of the companion Bible. He's got all the Hebrew words and all the Greek words in the margin. So you can check him out, and most of the time, it really don't add anything to the sermon if it's a true statement. You can find out the same thing in the English that you can find out in the Greek. The English is even superior because this verse goes with that verse, and that verse goes with these 5 verses, and these 5 verses go with these 10 go with these 100. It's an infinite book. Like I've told you that before. It's written by God. God's infinite. This is his book. The book's infinite. But you go study Greek, and it just dead ends. It goes, this Greek word here for wax coal is sukomai. Go get a Vine's Expository Dictionary and look up the word definition for sukomai. Wax coal. You hit the dead end, man. It stops. But with the English, it just goes on and on and on. Matthew chapter 24. But I showed you could use a Young's Concordance to mess with the King James Bible, and they do. And you can use a companion Bible. Incidentally, also, anytime I've sat under preachers that mess with this word or mess with that word, it is in here. It's in the margin, so it's nothing original. This was in print before they were born. I mean, all that stuff that they think is fresh. Where's my? Excuse me a minute. Yeah, all that stuff you think so fresh coming out of the Greek New Testament. This is a Nestle's Greek text, incidentally. I forget which edition, 20-something. But anyway, it's the wrong Greek text. Alan Metzler. The right Greek text is Textus Receptus, Elevisor, and Stephanus and such. But you think he's sitting in his office reading this thing and getting all these Greek nuggets? No, he got them. He's probably never even heard of the Companion Bible by Ethelbert Bullinger, an English scholar. But he's getting that from somebody who got it from him. He's getting it indirectly. He's getting it secondhand. He's getting all these Greek nuggets secondhand. Here's where it's coming from. Oh yeah, man, don't pull my leg. I've been around. No, you can go fool your grandmother, okay? Okay, Matthew 24. And Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to shew him the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said unto them, See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. That happened in 70 AD with Titus, Roman emperor. He come into Jerusalem and just wiped it out. Now, it also goes for verse, Scofield's got a verse linking this up to verse 16 with this note about Titus coming in 70 AD. He says, the passage in Luke refers in express terms to the destruction of Jerusalem, which was fulfilled. It's in the past. It's fulfilled prophecy, past history. Fulfilled in Titus AD 70. The passage in Matthew to a future crisis in Jerusalem after the manifestation of the abomination, which we hadn't read that yet, but it's in this chapter. See the beast, Daniel 7, verse 8, Revelation 19, verse 20, and Armageddon. And as the circumstances of both cases will be similar, so are the warnings. So it has a dual application. A dual application. The prophecy was fulfilled when Titus come in Jerusalem and wiped it out. Plus, it'll have a future application when the Antichrist comes in and wipes Jerusalem out. In the former case, Jerusalem was destroyed, and the latter it will be delivered. It will be delivered by divine interposition. In other words, the Lord's going to intervene and stop the Antichrist from destroying all the Jews and Jerusalem the second time. At the end of the tribulation period, he comes back in his second advent, prevents this from happening, and sets his kingdom up. Okay. Verse 3. Remember that when I get to verse 16, because I just went over that, okay? And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, verse 3, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and the end of the world? When shall these things be? What's the sign of the coming? When's the end of the world? It's 3 questions. Now, the end of the world doesn't mean kaboom, the world's going to blow up here. They're talking about the end of this age that we're in and looking forward to the new age, the kingdom you're going to set up. This is the age they're looking forward to, the Lord setting his kingdom up. They are here. And this doesn't have to be where they're at here in the Bible in Matthew chapter 24. This is the church age. It didn't have to happen. But they're here, and they're looking forward to this. When are you going to set this up? What's going to be the sign of it? Now, the end of the world, the King James Bible defines its own words, its own terms. The best commentary on the King James Bible is the King James Bible, Hebrews chapter 9, verse 6. Let's turn there. Hebrews chapter 9, verse 6. And we see, did I get the right thing? 9:26, I'm sorry. Hebrews 9:26. For then, talking about Christ, for then must he have often suffered since the foundation of the world, but now, once, and the end of the world didn't end when Jesus was here at his first advent. The age ended. So I'm not saying change that word to age. I'm just saying the word world sometimes means age. And that's just the way the land lies. But once now in the end of the world hath he appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. Okay, so that word world also carries the meaning of age or a dispensation of time. So the disciples asked 3 questions, and Jesus is going to answer them. He's going to be talking a lot about this kingdom over here. He's not going to be talking about this church age. He's right here, Old Testament, Christ's first advent. Hasn't been crucified yet. Church age, in the middle of between the Old Testament and the kingdom setting up. Doesn't have to be. They can accept him and set up the kingdom. But he's going to be talking about this. Matthew 24. Get what you can, man. You can get the rest later, okay? Verse 4. Jesus answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. Or they'll say, I am the vicar of Christ. That means I'm here in Christ's stead. I'm running the show. I'm running the bingo. I'm here in the stead of Christ. I'm running the bingo. I got the authority. I got the keys. Christ said there'll be many of those. I wonder how many of those there have been. There's, in the book of Haley's Bible Handbook, there's a whole list of Roman people over the Roman church in there. If you want a list of them and some of the things they did. And I forgot these books yesterday. Just incidentally on this, if I want to know what a Catholic believes, I'll get a Catholic catechism, right? If I want to know what a Buddhist believes, I'll get a book on the teachings of Buddha. I don't have to ask any Buddhists what they believe. I'm not misrepresenting any of these people. I'll tell you what they say about themselves, but I'm not slandering them. I'm just telling you what they say about themselves. If I want to know what a Mason believes, I'll get me one of these things and read it. Did you? Yeah, I read the whole thing. I know what they believe. Do you? Ain't we having fun tonight? Okay, where was I? Verse 6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Wars and rumors of wars. The Germans say in case of rain, the war will be held in the auditorium. Oh, yes, kind of funny. They just mean there's always going to be wars. You know, the French is going to try to take over Europe and England, and England's going to try to take over Europe and France, and Germany's going to try to take over France and England, and they're all going, try to take over Russia and Czechoslovakia and Poland, God knows what, I don't know why Germany gets such a bad rap on that. I mean, the French and the English tried to conquer everything too. But they did mess with that Jew. That's where they really messed up. Okay, verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in divers places. And all these are the beginning of sorrows. There's a lot more come. Ever since Adam and Eve disobeyed God, there's been 6,000 years of hospital beds and graveyards. Verse 9, Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. This is especially true of a saint that finds himself in the tribulation period. He gets saved after the rapture. The Lord comes right here where we are now in the church age. He comes at the end of the church age in the rapture. And if you don't go up in the rapture, that means you weren't saved in here. And if you weren't saved in here somewhere, then you can get saved in the tribulation period, but you have to not take the mark of the beast. And there will be consequences. You will be saved by faith and works. You will be saved by keeping the testimony of Jesus Christ and not taking that mark. Turn to Revelation chapter 12, 14, I think it is. Nope, wasn't 12, 14. 12. 14:12 then. Let's try 14:12. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that, 1, keep the commandments of God, and 2, the faith of Jesus. So there's 2 things you'll have to do to be saved in the tribulation period. And he says over here in Revelation 22, blessed are they that do his commandments, they have a right to the tree of life. Okay, was it in 22? Oh my word, I can't find these things to save my life now, can I? But anyway, that's very unlike Ephesians 2, 8, and 9. By grace you're saved through faith, and that knowledge of yourselves is a gift of God, and all works that any man should boast. Not the same at all. So when you enter this period of time here, you'll be saved by faith and works, where you could have been saved by faith back here. Took the easy road to heaven. I walked down a carpeted church aisle and got saved in an air-conditioned building by the grace of God through simple childlike faith. Easy peasy Japanesey, easy peasy lemon squeezy. But no, you put it off, you put it off, you put it off. You refuse. Well, the rapture happens and you find yourself here in the tribulation period. Well, now, easy peasy's over. Now you're going to have to show you made fun of the hypocrites in the church here. Now you're going to get to show what a fine person you are right here. You're going to show us how it's done. You're going to shine right here. You're going to be saved by keeping the faith of Jesus and the commandments and not taking the mark of the beast. And if you take that mark, you'll go to hell like a bullet. All right? Now, where in the world? We was on verse 10. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. Many false prophets. All these books I told you I get, and I find out what they believe. False prophets, man. False prophets. If you're not teaching salvation by the shed blood of Jesus Christ, and by grace through faith, in this age, the church age, you're a false prophet. And because, verse 12, and because iniquity shall abound, that's just iniquity. So you're in it, man. You're in this sin. Iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. People just get hard-hearted, just cold as a rock. Verse 13, but he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. The end of what? The end of your life? No. The end of the tribulation period. The gospel of the kingdom will be preached again here. It was preached here. Kingdom's at hand. It will be preached here. The kingdom's at hand. And if you endure to the end without taking the mark of the beast, without renouncing Christ, every time they asked you to pledge your allegiance to the beast, you bow your head and say, Jesus is Lord, and you try to make a living out in the wilderness because you can't buy or sell without the mark, you make it to the end of this, you shall be saved. Okay, verse 14, and this gospel of the kingdom's at hand, kingdom of heaven, David's throne, shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. They'll preach it right in here in tribulation, the end of the tribulation, the end. The end shall come, the Christ will come back at his second advent and set up his kingdom. Easy peasy Japanesey, man. Why people try to make things so hard? Man, you get a hold of these things, the Bible's easy. But I mean, if you just refuse to believe what the Bible says, and you always want to twist it up and mess around with the Greek and mess around with the Hebrew and mess around with different Mickey Mouse Bibles and mess around with philosophers and people that add other authorities to the Bible. Like the Bible's not enough; you have to have another authority, like the Book of Mormon or the Jehovah's Witnesses Watchtower or the Pope's ex cathedra. Or no, you're always adding something else to it. Here, you can add this to it. You can add this to the Bible. Always another authority to add to the Bible. You go messing around with that stuff, you'll never understand anything. All right, verse 15. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Okay, Daniel, in the book of Daniel, goes over all these things, and the Antichrist going to stand in the holy place and say, I'm God. He'll probably come in. He may be the Pope. He may be some other religious leader. But he'll come in and he'll say, he'll come in on that ticket. But halfway through the tribulation period, he says, hey, forget that. I'm God. I'm God. We're not going to do that anymore. You're going to worship me. So he stands in the temple of God, proclaiming that he is God, and that's what the devil wanted in Isaiah 14. He wanted to be worshipped as God. He wants worship. He asked Christ to worship him, and Christ said, "Thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve." But this is the book of Daniel by Clarence Larkin. Clarence Larkin. You can buy this book. It won't cost you a whole heck of a lot. He goes over these things, when these things will happen. All right, here's a little chart. Try to get it all on here. Leave it up there so you can freeze it and you can go over it yourself. Okay, it goes over all that stuff in the book of Daniel where he breaks all these things down into time periods, and Christ shows up at 69th week, is crucified, and the 70th week is the tribulation period. And this is a verbally inspired original here. This is in color. At the end of the tribulation, the Gentile powers is over. Church age powers over here. Antichrist on the feet. Christ comes, a stone cut out without hands, and smites the image on the legs. It falls over. There goes all the Gentile world powers. All the kingdoms of the world are become the Lord's and his Christ, Revelation chapter 11. But if you want a good book on Daniel, this is it. There's an English dude that made a book on Daniel too. I never got his book, but they always recommended it in Bible school. But it's a Dr. Ruttman always recommended Larkin, and that was any book he recommended, I went and got it. That was a good advice. He's got a book on dispensational truth. He's got one on Daniel. He's got one on Revelation. He's got one on rightly dividing the word, and he's got another one on that's 4. He's got another one I can't remember. The spirit world, angels and things like that. And then he's got one on why I am a Baptist. It's just a paperback, but get his 5 hardbound books. You'll not be sorry. Unless you're not going to read them. If you're not going to read them, don't get them. Don't waste your money. Go buy yourself a new shirt. Okay, where in the world were we at? Okay, begin. This gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, then shall the end come. Okay, verse 15. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, the abomination that makes desolate, he makes the place desolate, or all the land over in Jerusalem and the world, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whosoever readeth, let him understand, let him. Verse 16, then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. This is what I was telling you about that double application prophecy about Titus destroying Jerusalem in 70 AD and Antichrist destroying it in the future. Let's see, what else we got going here? Schofield's got a note that says verses 4 through 14. Christ had been answering these questions of the disciples. He said, this is not a description of a converted world. Some people say, we're going to preach the gospel, and when the world's converted to Christ, then he's going to come back. That's a post-millennial view. And anytime anybody teaches post-millennialism, they're eventually going to have to come to Matthew 24 and 25 to prove it. And we'll see that's pretty, that's just not going to hold water. I'll put it in a nice way. But the same answer applies in a specific way to the end of the age via Daniel's 70th week. Okay. This is not a description of a converted world, but of Daniel's 70th week. I just put all that chart up there that you can pause and go over. All that has characterized the age gathers into awful intensity at the end. So the last part of the tribulation period and all the things going on in this church age, it really intensifies right before the Lord comes at Second Advent. Verse 14 has specific reference to the proclamation of the good news of the kingdom is again at hand, okay, by the Jewish remnant, the ones that get saved. 144,000 Jews get saved in the tribulation period, it says in the book of Revelation, and they'll be proclaiming the kingdom is at hand again. Okay, this introduces the Great Tribulation. First part of the tribulation period, tribulation 7 years, first 3.5 years is just tribulation. The second 3.5 years is Great Tribulation. So if you go over there to the book of Daniel, that chart I showed you, he says the thing's 7 years long. Everywhere else you read it is 3.5 years long. That's why the emphasis on the 3.5, that's the 3.5 years of hell on wheels at the end of the tribulation. This Great Tribulation. This introduces the Great Tribulation, which runs an awful course in 3.5 years, culminating in the battle Revelation 19, when Christ comes, the smiting stone of Daniel 2, like I showed you on the chart, smites the image on the legs. That's the end of Gentile world power. The detail of this period, abomination in the holy place, we just read about the warning to the believing Jews that will then be in Jerusalem, the Great Tribulation, with renewed warning to the false Christ, and sudden smiting of the Gentile world power by the stone on the legs of the image of Daniel, of the Gentile powers. The glorious appearing of our appearing of our Lord, visible to all nations, and the regathering of Israel, the sign of the fig tree, warnings applicable to this present age over which these events are ever impending. We're not looking for the Antichrist. We're not looking for the Lord's second advent. We're looking for the rapture. We're right here in the church age here, and we're looking for the Lord to come in the rapture and get us out of this mess. All your problems will be solved when you go up. Okay. Let's see. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. This is when they go to the rock city of Petra, south of the Dead Sea, on the mounts in the back of your Bible. You follow the Jordan River on down, go down to the Dead Sea, going south. And right at the end of the Dead Sea is the rock city of Petra, sometimes called Selah, S-E-L-A, or Salah, like you find in Psalms all the time. Every time you see that reference, Salah, in the Psalms, there's a reference to the second advent. And that's when the Lord comes back. The second time. There will be a reference to that within 10 verses of it. Let him which is on the housetop not come down and take anything out of his house. You'll be in a big hurry when the Antichrist goes in that temple and says he's God. You better run to that city. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes, and woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day, for then shall be great tribulation. That's the last 3.5 years of tribulation, 7-year tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Daniel gives 2 or 3 different time frames for this, and they all come up a different number. So that's something to do with the shortening of the days. Also, some of these days have been fulfilled since Christ was crucified, and he was offering the kingdom again at hand through Acts chapter 2 through Acts chapter 7, those 30-something years or whatever they were. They can be counted against the 7 years of tribulation, can be subtracted from seven years of the tribulation in the future, because they've already been lived after Christ's resurrection up to Acts chapter 7. Then if any man, I'll give you something to chew on, won't it? Verse 23, then if any man shall say unto you, lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall shew great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they say unto you, behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. For as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. That is, he'll be visible to all. You'll not need faith then, because you can see him. So you're not going to be saved the same way then, because faith will be irrelevant. You don't need faith in somebody sitting on a throne right in front of your face. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will eagles be gathered together. The eagles, the birds are a type of unclean spirits in the scriptures. We'll see that a little later on in the book of Matthew. We touched on that before. But they're going to be eating all the dead bodies that people that get killed at the Battle of Armageddon. A lot of armies will come against Jerusalem, and they will have some success. It says in the book of Zechariah, the women will be ravished. They'll loot, plunder, and steal and kill. But the Lord will come back, and they will regret that their grandma ever met their grandpa. All right, verse 29, immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heaven shall be shaken. That's what happens before the Lord comes in second advent. And that's what was just about happening there in book of Acts chapter 2. Talking about the prophecy of Joel. Verse 30, and then shall appear the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see, no faith, the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. Second advent, he told the Pharisees of his day that you won't see me again. Do you see me coming in the clouds of heaven? You'll say, blessed be the name of the Lord. He says, the tribes of earth will mourn. But we don't mourn when we see Jesus Christ. We go, glory to God, there he is, It's different people's going to react differently. If you're saved, it's not a bad thing to see Jesus. If you're not right, if you're not saved, you're not right with God, it's going to be a bad thing to see Jesus. You'll say the rocks and the caves and the dens of the earth to cover me up and hide me from the face of the land. I say people are going to say, let me at him. Verse 31, and he shall send his angels with a great shout of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to another. That's a post-tribulation rapture. Is the rapture at the start of the tribulation. That's us in the church age. And after the tribulation period, there's a rapture of the friends of the bridegroom, and those that are invited to the wedding get to go to the wedding. But the bride of Christ is raptured here. The guests are over here. If you're saved during the tribulation period, you get raptured at the end of the tribulation period. You missed out on the first one. Verse 31, he shall send his, Verse 32, now learn the parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, you know that summer is nigh. So likewise, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. And Israel, like the fig tree, came a nation again, 1948, after World War II. Balfour Declaration and all that stuff. And they got control of Jerusalem again under much tribulation. But 1948, they became a nation. The Pope didn't like it. The Muslims didn't like it. Some of them did back then, but those that did like it got assassinated. But regardless, that's the fig tree. That's the one to watch for here. Verse 34, verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. Well, if a generation 70 years and they were a nation in 1948, 2026, that's where I'm at right now. That's been 78 years ago. So maybe a generation's 80 years, maybe a generation's 100 years. I don't know, maybe generations 50 years, I don't know. In the Bible, it turns out to be about 40 years, something like that, a lot of times, but it's different numbers. So only the Lord knows and he might be talking about Israel themselves here. One of these notes said here. I think it's on Schofield Reference Bible. Says it could be, or it might have been the Bullinger, I don't know. I read it somewhere in one of these notes. It said it could have been talking about the nation Israel itself, that they won't be just annihilated, that the Lord's going to come back and save them. That you can look at it like that. But I think he's talking about that generation from 1948. So if you get a generation's 80 years and 78 of the years have gone, then the rapture ain't but 2 years off. I mean, I ain't teaching that for doctrine. I'm just throwing something out there. Okay, verse 35. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall not pass away. All right, you can put that with Psalms 12, 6, and 7. He said he would preserve his words from this generation forward. Christ wants you to keep his words. How can you keep his words if you don't have his words? He promises you here in verse 35, heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall not pass away. Well, if the original Greek was his word, then it has passed away. We don't have the original Greek. I suppose you know that. We have copies of copies of copies, and we have works that people have done to try to get these copies together, these manuscripts together. This is a Greek text. It's the wrong Greek text, but it's Nessel's Greek text. It's very handy because down here in the bottom, in this critical appendix here, or apparatus, whatever you want to call it, it tells you where these words in the Greek, what manuscripts they appear in. So if a Jehovah's Witness or whatever says that it's not in the Greek, you can turn up here and get the word and go down here and you can see if what manuscripts the word's in, and you go, well, what Greek are you talking about? There's more than 24 Greek texts. Which one are you talking about? And which ones do you say it's not in? Because I see here that it is in some of them. So there's not one Greek text. Now put a little truth on them, make them sweat a little bit. Okay, so if Christ promises his words not going to pass away, where are they? Well, King James Bible, man. And did I hesitate or stutter to answer that question? Where's God's words, King James Bible? And I didn't have to, oh, we know that the message of God has been preserved and good translation, and good godly men disagree, and blah, 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 Okay, verse 36, I gotta go. But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. Christ knows now, of course. He's had some things withheld from him while he was down here in the flesh. But now he's God Almighty, united with the Trinity again. He's always been part of the Trinity. And he knows when he's coming back now. But while he was down here on the earth, in the flesh, only his Father knew. Okay, verse 37, and as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. It was bad Noah's day, they were, Noah and his family were the only ones that God could find that were righteous. Verse 38, for as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating, drinking, marrying, giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark, or no. 39, and knew not until the flood came and took them away, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. It's a surprise. It's a cataclysmic event. It's a day of wrath, and it comes as a thief in the night, and it'll catch a lot of people by surprise. Then shall two be in the field, and one shall be taken, and the other left. This isn't talking about the rapture of the church going up here. It's talking about the rapture in the tribulation period. So that's what I told you. People teach the rapture is going to happen. Church is going to happen at the end of the tribulation period. Post-millennialists, they have to go to this chapter to prove that. And we've went over so many verses that put this in the tribulation period that we see that it's not talking. He's not talking to the church. He's talking to Jews that are going to find themselves in the tribulation period here, or get raptured up in Acts 7 if the leaders would have accepted the kingdom, which they didn't. Verse 41, 2 women shall be grinding at the mill, and one shall be taken, another left. Watch therefore, for you know not what hour your Lord doth come. And a lot of preachers preach this text, and they preach it like the rapture of the church, and a lot of people get saved. Now, doctrinally, that's all screwed up, but God takes it and blesses it. He uses us. We're a mess. You know, he used David. He was an adulterer. You know, he used Moses. He was a murderer. Murdered an Egyptian, hid him in the sand. He used Solomon. Solomon had a 1,000 wives. God uses all kind of things. God used a lot of things to translate this King James Bible, to put this King James Bible in our hands. He used a lot of things I wouldn't approve of. A lot of things a lot of people wouldn't approve of. But he used them. Tyndall, when he wrote his English translation, first Bible ever translated into English, by Wycliffe, excuse me. He used wrong manuscripts, but the Pope didn't approve of his translation because he slipped. Even though he had the wrong manuscripts, he slipped the readings of the right manuscripts into his translation, so it turned out to be a good Bible. The New King James translator did the opposite. They took the good manuscripts and slipped in the readings of the corrupt text. Okay, I'm just saying God uses things that we don't approve of sometimes. So bibbidi bobbidi boo, you just have to get over it. He uses what he wants to. He uses Greek, words from the Greek to make headings in the books in the Old Testament. A lot of those words come from Greek words, not Hebrew words. Like Exodus is X is out. That's a Greek word for out. EK is Greek for out, but for certain vowels it's EX. Okay, verse 43. But know this, that if the good man of the house had known watched the thief would come, he would have watched and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. Therefore be ye also ready, for in the hour that ye think not, the Son of Man cometh. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord hath made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season? Blessed is that servant whom the Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. Verily I say unto you, that he shall make him ruler over all his goods. So we get rewards when the Lord comes back. This fellow rule over 10 cities, him over 5, him over 1. The fellow, the foolish servant, he'll have rule over nothing. He'll probably be cleaning the johns. I don't want to be the janitor during the millennial, during the kingdom age here. I'd rather be a king or a priest and rule over something the Lord give me than to just be a janitor. But you'll be saved. If you're saved, you're saved. But there are rewards to be had. 1 John 2 John, 3 John says that take heed that you receive a full reward. And Colossians chapter 3 said we'll receive the reward of the inheritance, not the reward of salvation, the reward of our inheritance. Peter says you have an inheritance that is reserved for you. That's salvation. There's an inheritance, Colossians chapter 3, that you earn in this age. Even though you're saved by grace, you're still earning your inheritance in the kingdom age. When the Lord sets up his kingdom, you'll be kings and priests. If you behave yourself, you do what you're supposed to do. You obey the Lord. Verse 48, and if that evil servant shall say in his heart, my Lord delayeth his coming, and shall begin to smite his fellow servants, and to eat and drink with the drunken, the Lord of that servant shall come in that a day when he looketh not for him, and an hour that he is not aware of, shall cut him asunder, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. Didn't say he went to hell, but he'll have his portion with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Well, he might have went to hell, I don't know. He might be talking about a fellow in the tribulation period, and he's got to not take the mark. He's got to keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. And if he don't do all those things, then yes, he'll go to hell. But a person in the church age is saved by grace through faith, and your inheritance is reserved for you, Peter says. You have everlasting life, the Lord says, and there's only one end to everlasting life. It's the end you got on yet. If everlasting life ends, it's not everlasting life. Matthew 24, thanks for listening. That was long, but that's as short as I can make it.